Yeah. Hear me out. Black man, black woman, know that you are heaven sent. God blessed you with melanin, that's quite an embellishment. Every time I look at you, I see excellence. Praise the higher for being such a perfectionist. You've been told your whole life that you were ugly, huh? By the ugly ones, they just jealous. Pigs, cause they ain't got your genetics. They spend thousands to have your features and they still look pathetic. Damn. In every black neighborhood, there's a liquor store. I wonder who put them there and what they did it for. They know that alcohol is detrimental to your body. Once consumed, it destroys your mental. They want for you to indulge in these substances. And by they, I'm referring to your government. Now, we take the word government, you will find that government means control and it means the mind. They want us to operate in our lowest nature. They were successful, but God sent me to elevate you. I just want us to get back to what we used to be. Kings and queens, know that you are royalty. You claim to be African, you claim to be Indian. None of that really matters, cause all of us are indigenous. Know your worth. You the salt of the earth, but somewhere in time we lost our flavor. Disconnected from nature and all the aspects of it. It's been demonized, and we've been programmed to believe that I broke away from religion. And I'm so glad that I did it, cause shortly after that's when I started to realize that this God we've been seeking out the whole time is dwelling deep on the inside of each and every one of our temples. I meant bodies, you no longer need to see the truth because I just dropped it. Real talk. Now this is where I step away, take a break, find a quiet place to meditate, relax my flesh as my mind begins to elevate, raising my consciousness to a higher state, creating true equilibrium, synchronizing the two left and right hemisphere of my encephalon. The work is done, I'm illuminated. Now carry on.
Look, a female dog for the black woman I'll never utter. Butter pecan brown smelling like cocoa butter. When you nappy, I'm happy, I see a flawless cover. Glory on your hair rise high to the Lord above us. Stay kinky, I love you blacker than Danny Glover. No cap and caramel and every other color. Everything noir, everything mother. Everything you touch is golden wherever you are. That's why they emulate your stilo, emulate the lingo. Imitate your body and courage, but let them beat up. Cause it must be hard walking around flat as a backboard and wishing that they had shaped like a letter beat on. The carbon copy's not the original. Black man, first man, fresh about the kiln. He made you and gave you dominion over them. So when you seeing us, you looking at the creme de la creme. Big facts, who you know that can recline way back. With the wheel on the lag and thought the roof was in the back. That's a black man, make it look cooler than ice packs, man. We the salt of the earth, what you expect? Put some respect on it. May not agree with everything, but we connect, homie. You got my back, I got your back, and that's a bet, homie. What's fried chicken with some grease on it? It ain't no without the seasoning sprinkled on it.
Hold on, play that again. How many minutes is that?
$3.17.
Yeah. Hear me out. Black man, black woman, know that you are heaven sent. God blessed you with melanin, that's quite an embellishment. Every time I look at you, I see excellence. Praise the higher for being such a perfectionist. You've been told your whole life that you were ugly, huh? By the ugly ones, they just jealous. Pigs, cause they ain't got your genetics. They spend thousands to have your features and they still look pathetic. Damn. In every black neighborhood, there's a liquor store. I wonder who put them there and what they did it for. They know that alcohol is detrimental to your body. Once consumed, it destroys your mental. They want for you to indulge in these substances. And by they, I'm referring to your government. Now we take the word government, you will find that government means control and it means the mind. They want us to operate in our lowest nature. They were successful, but God sent me to elevate you. I just want us to get back to what we used to be. Kings and queens, know that you are royalty. You claim to be African, you claim to be Indian. None of that really matters, cause all of us are indigenous. Know your worth. You the salt of the earth, but somewhere in time we lost our flavor. Disconnected from nature and all the aspects of it. It's been demonized, and we've been programmed to believe that I broke away from religion. And I'm so glad that I did it, cause shortly after that's when I started to realize that this God we've been seeking out the whole time is dwelling deep on the inside of each and every one of our temples. I meant bodies, you no longer need to see the truth because I just dropped it. Real talk. Now this is where I step away. Take a break, find a quiet place to meditate. Relax my flesh as my mind begins to elevate. Raising my consciousness to a higher state. Creating true equilibrium. Synchronizing the two left and right hemisphere of my encephalon. The work is done. I'm illuminated. Now carry on.
Look, a female thought for the black woman I'll never utter. But a pecan brown smelling like cocoa butter. When you nappy, I'm happy. I see a flawless cover. Glory on your hair rise high to the Lord above us. Stay kinky, I love you blacker than Danny Glover. No cap and caramel and every other color. Everything noir, everything mutter. Everything you touch is golden. Wherever you are, that's why they emulate your stilo. Emulate the lingo. Imitate your body and courage, but let them be though. Cause it must be hard walking around flat as a backboard. And wishing that they had shaped like a letter B though. The carbon copy's not the original. Black man, first man, fresh about the kiln. He made you and gave you dominion over them. So when you seeing us, you looking at the creme de la creme. Big facts, so you know they can recline way back. With the wheel on the lag and thought the woofers in the back. That's a black man, make it look cooler than ice packs, man. We the salt of the earth, what you expect? Put some respect on it. May not agree with everything, but we connect, homie. You got my back, I got your back, and that's a bet, homie. What's fried chicken with some grease on it? It ain't no without the seasoning sprinkled on it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Facebook Live, good morning, good morning. YouTube with Orlando, keeping it simple. How's everybody doing this morning? How's everybody doing this morning? Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope your week has been a great week. I hope the Most High have truly blessed you overly. I hope He has truly blessed you overly and abundantly. I think overly is a word. I hope He has really truly blessed you more than you can imagine. I hope He has really given you protection and love and kindness. I hope He has really truly blessed your offsprings more than they can imagine with wisdom and knowledge and understanding and protection. I really truly hope He has. How has your week been this week? It has been some times this week, you know, I guess in the news. There's a lot of stuff going on with the State of the Union address and how the president said that the American economy is doing great. He put in 12 million jobs, even though companies are laying off left and right these days. He's saying that the economy is doing well. You know, he has said he did a lot, but if you look at people today, you can't really tell that he's did a whole lot for the country. What you say about the mortgage thing? The mortgage referendum? The mortgage referendum has been lifted.
Oh, they're going to start evicting people from, well, what they say, they had the pandemic.
Yeah, because of
people didn't pay rent or their mortgages for the last 2 years, 2.5 years. Oh, so they lifted it, so they're going to start evicting people from their homes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because of what we went through, because of the pandemic, people is not allowed to pay mortgage for 2.5 years, 3 years.
And that came from a live realtor source, a broker. So.
Okay, so now they're getting ready. They just lifted the mortgage referendum act or whatever you want to call it last week. So when they lifted that, those people who hasn't been paying mortgage for the last 2.5 to 3 years. Those people finna get ready to be evicted out of their homes. And we had one in our neighborhood to be evicted this week.
Yep.
We had one to be evicted this week, and then when we saw the person was sleeping in the parking lot down the street from our house. Yeah, so we got to get ready to understand a lot of things finna get ready to transpire here in the United States. When they say famine and pestilence, that's it. Also, Let me go ahead and get started, and then I can get back to it. Let us go to Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. But my week has been okay. I had some betrayal this week. Betrayal because of a covenant that was broken. I'll tell you about it in a few minutes. So let me read. And it says, and El spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy El, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Els before me, and thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah thy El, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy El in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy El. In it thou shalt not do any works, thou nor thy sons, nor thy daughter, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mother, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors, and thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor. So let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine to your kingdom, power to your glory, forever and ever. So let it be. Amen, amen, amen. Yeah, but I remember I was talking, let me tell you about my week a little bit. I remember I talked to this guy about fishing, right? I said, man, I need to know how to fish. I need to know how to fish. Even though I know how to fish, it is some strategies to fishing. And I was trying to learn the strategies of fishing. Because sometimes people they can set their reels up different than other people. And sometimes every reel ain't made for the same situation. So every time you go fishing, you can't use the same fishing rod for the same fish, because some fishing poles may not be able to handle a bass, because some may not be able to handle a catfish. So it's different types of poles for different types of fish. And how they set them up, whether you're going to set them at the bottom, whether you're going to set them up in the middle, or you're going to fish for bass on top. So, people do it different types of ways. So I was talking to this guy, and he said, yeah, man, I'm going to go fishing this week, and I'm going to take you with me. Or we're going to go together so I can show you how I set my stuff up, and so I can show you how I fish for bait, because I don't use worms, I use fish. I said, okay, cool. And as soon as I got out there with him, he turned around and left me. 5 minutes after me being out there with him, of him showing me certain things on why he fished for bait and how he fished for it, he turned around and left me. And I said, man, I can't believe this. I said, but prior to you told me you're going to stay about a couple hours. He said, man, I got to go, man. I got to go. Him not realizing that he told me he was going to do something, he didn't necessarily stick to the covenant or the contract that he said he was going to do. So he wound up leaving me out there, which I didn't mind. But, I come to understand sometimes that the Most High do not allow people to do stuff for you because he didn't want them to take the credit for what he did for you. What they're doing for you. He always want to receive the credit for what goes on in your life, and he don't want nobody else to take the credit for it. So I appreciated that. So now I just got to go online and research and do more studies on more stuff on what artificial bait is good for fishing, what is good for this and what's good for that. So that worst case scenario, I'll know how to fish and know what type of bait I need to fish for certain things. You know, because they was talking about when you're fishing in dark water, you need a lighter fake bait so that the fish can see the light bait in dark water. And so if you're fishing in light water, you can use some dark so that the fish, so it can catch the fish eyes. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'm learning the methods on how to fish, because there's always a strategy to the madness. So, you know, I was just thinking about that and how sometimes people can really, they say they doing something, but in actuality it's off. They're going to break it and not go to it, and going to go against everything they said. Okay? So if you could, I hope I didn't ramble on, and I hope you understood what I was saying. You know, because it is very important that you learn how to fish. If you don't know how to cut up a fish, you need to learn how to cut up a fish. If you don't know those strategies, you need to learn how to do it, because the price of everything, inflation. You can go fishing and be able to fish for your family and get some meat. Return to the book of Jeremiah chapter 50. Jeremiah chapter 50. It's going to be verses 21 through 34. It's going to be 21 through 34. And the key verse is going to be verses 21. What you put in this?
It's on everything.
Like what?
That is a lemon echinacea tea bag with orange spices. Lemon echinacea elderberry tea bag.
Oh, for real? It don't taste good at all, man. It's making my throat hurt. Nah, my wife made pretty good teas. I enjoy it. One thing I can say about my wife is that she send me out every morning with a lunch. And she get up every morning and she fix me a lunch and send me out the way. So, and she fixed me breakfast. So that's one thing I really appreciate. I appreciate so many things about my wife, but that's one thing I honestly can say about my wife, is that she sent me out of the house on a good way, you know. So I wanted to say that about her. But next week I might be saying something bad because we don't got until it's back, but not really. But no, that's my wife. I love my wife. She does me good. She treats me well and stuff. So I got to give her props and stuff. She really does a lot for me. And I hope I do the same for her. But the key verse is verse 21. Jeremiah chapter 50 verses 21 through 34. But the key verse is verse 21. It says, go up against the land of Marathon, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pequod. Waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Yahuwah, and do perform according to all that I have commanded thee. Okay, let me read it over. It says, go up against the land of Marathon, even against it and against the inhabitants of Pequod. Waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Yahuwah, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. Okay? If I may give a title of the text today, the title of the text today is We Are in World War III. We are in World War III. That's the title of the text today. And the two words is betray. These are words I have given before, so if you've been taking notes, you already know what they are. But I'm saying betray is a 13th century word. It means to deliver into the hands of an enemy by treachery or fraud, in violation of a trust, as an officer betrayed the city, to violate by fraud or unfaithfulness. And when I was looking at the word betray, right, in the 1828 dictionary, and I looked it up and it gave me something, and this is what it said up underneath the word betray. Listen to it and listen to it good. It says, if the people of America ever betray their trust, their guilt will merit even greater punishment than other nations have suffered, and the indignation of heaven. Listen to this again. The word betray means to deliver into the hands of an enemy by fraud in violation of trust, as an officer betrayed the city. Okay, so betray means fraud. Then it says, if the American people ever fraud their trust or misuse their trust or betray their trust, and what it's saying is if America ever go against anybody who trusts them, their guilt will merit even greater punishment than other nations have suffered. It is basically saying that if America ever betray their trust to other countries, America is gonna suffer more than anybody else ever suffered. That's in the 1828 dictionary up under the word betray. Okay, and then it says the indignation of heaven. Indignation of heaven. That means that the Most High will bring judgment on America because of their betrayal to other countries. Okay? Look it up in the 1828 dictionary and read it. Betray. In the word covenant, it says a mutual consent or agreement of two or more persons to do or to forbear some act or thing. A contract, a stipulations. Okay? So, the title of the text is to go up against the land of Marathon, even against it and the inhabitants of Peacock. Waste and utterly destroy after them, said Yahuwah, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. Why? The betrayal of the covenant. World War III is the title. And let me give you another one to keep in the back of your conscience, okay? In the back of your mind. Let's go to Luke 21 and 24. Luke 21 and 24. And it reads, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. The Gentiles was given a time to rule the world. Okay? They was given a time to rule the world. And they was given a time to rule the world for a certain period of time. But in the midst of them ruling the world, let's go back to Jeremiah chapter 50. In the midst of them ruling the world for that period of time, the Gentiles or Babylon was ruling the world for that time period. The Most High allowed them to do it just like He allowed King Nebuchadnezzar to rule for a period of time. But he allowed them to rule the world because of the disobedience of the children of Israel. Not because of anything else. Not because they were just so powerful and great. What the Most High was doing he was using the children of, he was using Babylon to punish the children of Israel for their disobedience to him, or to the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Spirit. So he was punishing them because they was not obeying the Spirit. So he brought Nebuchadnezzar in, or the United States in, to rule the world for that period of time. But in the midst of ruling the world, sometimes nations and kingdoms can get big-headed or become proud because they're in this position. And because they're in this position, they think they can do whatever they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it, and think it's okay. They feel like they have so much power that they can even betray or go against their own covenant that they made with other nations just to continue to rule over them. Not understanding that the word is all you had. And when you betray your own covenant with people, it kindles wrath and indignations against you, not just from the people, but from the Most High. Because when the Most High put you in this position, he wanted to make sure that you rule the world the way he wanted you to rule it, and not the way you wanted to rule the world. And see, when you look at it, look at history, right? Say when the colonizer or the Englishmen came over here to the Turtle Island of the Americas, right? They broke over 493 treaties or agreements or covenants with the native people, with my people. Because I'm learning that my people came from here. So they broke over 493 treaties with my people on my land. You know, and they have never kept their word throughout history and stuff. So when the Most High see that they never kept their word, he got to bring some action against them, because if they're not going to keep, if they didn't keep the covenant with the people, what make you think they kept the covenant with the Most High? Even though they probably didn't have a relationship with the Most High, but they never kept their words, period. And this is just a sidebar, and I'm going to get to the text in a minute. The Most High put it on my spirit about 2 weeks ago, right? He said, how can the United States be a country and the covenant, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights are for the people of the United States, but you still have the indigenous people that live by their own covenant, and they have their own laws that they live by, but the United States as a whole do not have no jurisdiction over them? How is that? Does that mean that the United States is occupying land that really don't belong to them? He said, because you got the native in Montana, you got some up in Maine, you got some in Oklahoma, you got some in Arizona, you got some all over scattered about. He said, but the United States don't have no authority over them, but the United States have authority over people that has agreed to be up under their Constitution. So is the United States an occupier, or is this actually the United States homeland? That's what the Most High was talking to me about. It's like you got two countries in one country. Two constitutions in one country. And the Most High just brought that to me, and I was just thinking about that for a minute. And that's just a sidebar note. But, you know, it's like, how can the Most High say, I put you in charge for a certain period of time. But in the moments that in the moment that you was here being in charge, You betrayed the Constitution. You went against the Constitution. You went against my word and even your own words. You really did. So that's why the Most High, just like Nebuchadnezzar had to try to make everybody that was living in Babylon worship the golden statue and bow down to the golden statue. That's no different than what the United States have done to people in America and people here on this continent. Make people bow down to what they wanted them to bow down to. And if they didn't, they would get sanctions put on them, or they'll be killed, or they'll be in prison. So now what the Most High have to do is bring World War III in so that he can be able to bring people down and humble them. Okay? So let us go to I got you 3 points today. 3 points. It's not gonna be long, but I'm gonna make sure I got a lot of information though that I want to give to you, because I really want you to start preparing for World War III, because we're really in it. We're really in it, and I don't think nobody really truly understand it. So in chapter 50 and 21 of Jeremiah, it says, "Go up against the land of Marathon, even against it and against the inhabitants of Pekod. Waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Yahuwah, and do according to all that I have commanded thee." Who is the Most High talking about in this text? Who is the Most High sending to bring judgment or to bring war against the nation of Babylon? Who is the Most High talking about in this text? Because the Most High is not going to come down. He's not going to come down here to bring judgment. He's going to send other nations to do his job for him, because that's what we're created to do. So you thinking that you're going to see the Most High, you're not going to see him do anything. You're going to see him cause other peoples to do what he wants them to do. And that's what I think we need to really truly understand, is that you will never be in the midst of the Most High. Never. What you will be in, you will be on the new heavens and the new earth. And the new earth is where the Father, that's where the Word will dwell, and you will obey the Word on the new earth. But you seeing the Most High presently? No. No one has saw his face. So don't think that we will see his face. We may see the fallen, we may see some angels or some messengers. We may even see his son, but us seeing him, we probably would never see him. Because that's what they talk about, the new heaven and the earth, and they said that's where the son will reign forever. But us seeing the Most High, doubtful. If you can find it in scripture where we see his face, post it. But I haven't seen it. But you will see his son. Like my wife said, I saw a man with gray hair and a gray beard this week. Dark skin. She said, I just couldn't see his face though. But how you know it's talking about what nation that we're talking about? We got to go to verse 3 in chapter 50 to be able to understand what nation we're talking about. And in order for you to understand who the Most High is going to send to bring judgment on Babylon. It says, "For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her. Her is Babylon. We shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. And they shall remove and they shall depart, both man and beast. So when we look at verse 21, the nation from the north go against the land of Marathon, even against it and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Yahuwah, and do according to all that I command thee. So it's a nation from the north that's going to bring judgment upon the land of Babylon. Talking about a nation from the north. I'm going to give you another one. Let's go to Isaiah, because I want us to be able to understand this nation that who's getting ready to come upon the Americas and against the G7s is going to be a land from people from the north. Isaiah 13:5. Okay? Isaiah 13:5. It says, and they come from a far country, from the ends of heaven, even Yahuwah, and the weapons of his indignation, to destroy the whole land. Listen to verse 6. Howl ye, for the day of Yahuwah is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. So this is what's going to get ready to happen in the land. This is what's getting ready to happen on the earth. This is what's getting ready to happen in the Americas. Because it was a betrayal of the covenant. Going against the covenant. Broken promises. Also, let us go to Matthew chapter 24, verse 31. I'm going to read verse 24. And then, verse 30 and then 31. Matthew chapter 24, verse 30 and 31. Let's look at it. This is kind of verifying what I said earlier. But if you can find a verse in that that says we'll see the Most High, let me know. In Matthew chapter 24 and verse 30, it says, then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the heavens to others. Okay? But also, let us go back to Jeremiah 51 and 11. Because I want you to understand something. What you're seeing on the earth is judgment. And what you're seeing is the Most High is using his people. Just like in Matthew chapter 24, right? Verse 31. Listen to this again. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. So, the Most High is using his creation to do his work. Just like he's going to use his angels to gather his flock, He's going to use other nations to bring judgment on the nations of people down here on the earth. Jeremiah 51:11. Listen to this. Listen to this. It says, make bright the angels, the arrows. Make bright the arrows. Gather the shields. Yahuwah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. Listen to that. What did he do? He raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his device against Babylon, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahuwah, the vengeance of his temple. So right now what you're seeing is all these nations that is rising up against the Americas and the G7s is because of what Yahuwah is doing. The nations from the north, the Mideast, and all these countries, what you're seeing is getting ready to be some stuff. You're seeing World War III right in hand, but it just haven't hit on the massive scale that it's going to hit. And what I noticed about what China did, right? 75% of our imports come from China. And see what China did for the last 2 years. And they did it strategically. They've been on lockdown. Everybody in China been on lockdown for the last 2 years. And 70% of your products come from China. So if China been on lockdown for the last 2 years and all your, what'd you say?
Can't produce.
Say it loud. And 70% or 75% of your products come from China. What happens?
I'm back or can't produce.
See, what China was doing is very strategic. They didn't have to necessarily come and bring a weapon over here to bring the Americas down or the U.S. down. What they did to bring down America,
Products and goods.
to stop your products and goods from coming over here to the Americas. 75% of our imports come from China. If you look on everybody's name tag, or everybody's shirt label, everybody's food, 75% of it come from China. And China been in lockdown for 2 years. So that means that China was strategically bringing us to famine without even having to do it from a way of wars. They weapons of war was cutting or shutting down their production warehouses. Stop shipping. That's what China did. They did it for 2 years, 2.5 years. They've been on lockdown. You can't get nothing in. It's on back order. Why? Because China was on lockdown. And they used whatever we was going through for the last 2.5 years as a reason to go on lockdown. And they call it, in the Bible, they call it a besiege. It means surround the city. They surrounded the city so nothing can come in and nothing can go out. And what it did is starve the people that was inside the walls. So that's how Babylon that's how Babylon conquered Jerusalem. Babylon circled Jerusalem and just laid hold of the city outside of the city for 2 years. And so what happened? The people got hungry. They were starving. The people inside the walls of Jerusalem were starving. That's how Nebuchadnezzar conquered Jerusalem. He didn't even really have to fight the war because he just surrounded the city and starved them out. And that's what happened here. For the last 2.5 years, we've been starving. Oh, you can't have it. Oh, you can't have that. Oh, we having a meat shortage on this. No, we having a meat shortage on that. Oh, our eggs is going this. Oh, this is happening. No. They doing the same thing to us. But we can't see it from a physical sense. Yeah. We can't see it from a spiritual sense. Huh?
And the price is going up.
Yeah, and the price is going up. And see, there are so many companies are furloughing and laying out because it ain't no work. It ain't no work because China was on lockdown for 2.5 years. I go into the rail yards every day. 65% of the trailers that's on the rail yard are empty. Ain't no work. But China did it strategically to starve the people out because of what actually been taking place. Betrayal of the covenant. See, the betrayal of the covenant just wasn't a physical, it was a spiritual betrayal of the covenant. Because if you notice, okay, in 2004, right? In 2003, in Tennessee, the American Civil Liberty Union sued the Radford County, Tennessee Commission for posting the Ten Commandments in the county courthouse, asserting that it was unconstitutional promoting a religion. U.S. Judge Robert Echols agreed in order for the removal of the Ten Commandments in 2004. So when they took the Ten Commandments out of the courtroom, we also know this way before then, but those was just steps on how they could get rid of properly judging people in the court system. Even though we know it way before then, we know that. But I'm just saying the removal of just the basic principles of the commandments and how they should judge. So, let us go back to Jeremiah 50:22. So now the Most High is going to bring a country from the north and really from all over. Do according to all that I have commanded thee. Okay? The Most High is bringing these people to intentionally come against us. It says, and he says, sound of battle is in the land. Sound of war is in the land, and of great destruction. He said it's not just going to be a war, it's going to be of great destruction. Then it says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut as under and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? See, let's go back to the top of the verse 23 for a second. I want us to understand something. Listen to this. It says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut as under? See, America, or Babylon, or the U.S. was considered to be a disciplinary, or a hammer, or something that cut people down. America was considered to be the hammer of the whole world at times. America was bringing corrections. America, or the U.S., was disciplining every country on the earth. That's why everybody was so afraid of her, because the power that the U.S. had at the time. Because she was up under the Most High's authority. She was up under the Most High's rule. She was blessed by the Most High at that given time. She was allowed to be the hammer of the whole earth. But now at some point, cut as under and broken. Why was she cut as under and broken? Because the betrayal of the covenant. Then it says, how has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Don't nobody respect the U.S. no more. Everybody telling the U.S., we don't care nothing about what you got going on no more. We don't want to make no more agreements with you. On the continent of Africa, they're not making no agreements with the U.S. no more. Everybody's getting rid of the dollar bill. Don't nobody want to have no association with the Americas no more. Then it says, I have laid a snare for thee. Listen to this. This is what the Most High is saying to Babylon, or to the U.S. He said, I have laid a snare. I have laid a trap for you. And thou also take it, O Babylon, thou was not aware. You let your pride get in the way of being so powerful that it became a trap for you. Thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahuwah. That's what the betrayal of the covenant was about. It wasn't just a betrayal from the Most High. It was, from the people. It was a betrayal of the Most High. Do you think gator bait is something that the Most High wanted the U.S. to do? Do you think he wanted them people to be treated the way he treated us? No. No, you was over here just to come over here and put us up under captivity for a little while and then go on about your business. You only supposed to stay out here for 300 years and went home. Verse 25, it says, Yahuwah has opened his armory and has brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of Yahuwah of the host in the land of Chaldeans. Come again her from the utter borders, open her storehouses and cast her up as heap, and destroy her utterly, let nothing be left. Now if you look at American society today, man, it's like, man, if we can just, man, if we can just, man, if we can just, man, if we can just. People finna get evicted out of their homes. Your banks are taking your money. Your food is not real good food no more. They selling you fake eggs and fake fish. They burning up all your warehouses that produce foods, your processing plants. They're not allowing your farmers to grow any food. The water is contaminated. The air is contaminated. All because thou hast strived against Yahuwah. So when you see all these nations that's getting ready to come against right now America, it's because of what the U.S. and the G7s have done against Yahuwah and his people. That's what you see on the land right today. Never in history, only in 1929 when they took people money. And it's almost been it's been 94 years since banks started taking people money, closing their accounts. And the only reason why they did that then, is because the U.S. went into a Great Depression. Now what you think we in? A Great Depression. Verse 27. The people of the north are getting ready to invade or attack America. The people from the north, people around the world, are finna get ready to invade and attack America. I said that today, didn't I? This week, didn't I? In prayer. I'm just going to read verse 27 and then I'm going to give you some stuff. It says, slay all her bullocks. Bullocks. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. That means attack or judgment. What's wrong? It says, slay all her bullocks. Let them all go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. It means attack or judgments, right? Their attack or judgments. So the people of the north, the first point is the people of the north or the people around the world is getting ready to bring some judgments on the United States or attacks. Let me read your article. I'm just going to read you the heading, but I'm going to put it on my YouTube page. Okay, I'm just gonna read you the headline. This is on War News 24/7. War News 24/7. War News 24/7, and what you got to do is, because it's a Russian newspaper, you got to go to the top right corner where it says translation, and you got to hit translation, and then it will let you be able to see it in English. Okay, I got two things on here that I'm going to talk about. War News 24/7. The first one is talking about, it says, Russia responds to S-HERS revelations. If the negotiation fails, Putin will give a deadline of 72 hours before using nuclear weapons. Okay? Okay, it says, Russia responds to the S-HERS revelations. If the negotiation fails, Putin will give a deadline of 72 hours before using nuclear weapons. This article came out on February 10th, 2023. It came out yesterday. Okay? And what happened is, reason why they're doing this is because when y'all heard of the Nord Stream pipelines and how they exploded, it was a famous art writer that came out and said that the U.S. had blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, but it was a $10 billion project from Russia going to Germany. And America went in and said that they would blow that pipeline up, and they're not worried about it. So now Putin understands that the U.S. blew up the pipeline. And when Putin understands and knows that the U.S. intentionally went in and blew up the pipeline, that was a terroristic threat. That was considered to be an act of war. Okay? So let me read a little bit of this. It says, the first reaction we have from the deep Russian state to the revelation of the Nobel Prize winning journalist is hers, that Biden gave the order to blow up the Russian Nord Stream pipeline. Moscow, through a well-known Russian media, responds, if the ongoing secret negotiation fails, then a 72-hour evacuation period will be given to areas, and then Russian army will regularly launch nuclear weapons. Obviously, we're talking about the Western Ukraine. Okay, I'm just giving you a headline of that. And what's actually taking place right now today, Russia and the United States is talking behind closed doors about how they're going to deal with this Nord Stream pipeline, and what demands are Russia asking for, and what the U.S. is willing to give. Because the United States got all his military soldiers over there in Ukraine. So they're behind closed doors negotiating now on what can be done, what will be done, what won't be done. And see, if they do not agree with what Russia is asking for, if the ongoing secret negotiation fails, then a 72-hour evacuation period will be given to the areas, and then Russian army will regularly launch nuclear weapons. They said, obviously, we are talking about the Western Ukraine, but it's not necessarily saying that. Okay, it says, I would like to start today material with excerpt. Okay, but it's not necessarily saying where Russia is going to hit. Let me go to another one. Go back. It's the same. War News 24/7. Translation. Ukraine. The Ukraine soldiers are attacking Russian soldiers with nuclear weapons. They are using chemical war weapons over there to attack Russian soldiers, which goes against the contracts that they would not use chemical warfare. And this article came out on the same day. It says, first Ukrainian attack with chemicals weapons. And it's showing you, and it says, asphyxiation death for Russian soldiers. Watch video below. So what actually happened is, it says, shocking video showing the use of chemical weapons by Ukrainian army were released by Russian sources. In the video, the Ukrainians use a drone which carries a chemical weapons. The drone released the chemical gas over the Russian soldiers. The Russian soldier immediately convulsed, showing signs of nerve gas poisoning. Yesterday, the Investigative Committee of Russia Federation announced that it is investigating the possible use of chemical weapons by Ukrainian military near the city of eastern Ukraine. Russia's State Investigative Committee announced that the authorities in a separate claim, People Republic report the use of chemical weapons by Ukrainian drones in that area. Then it says, as a result, members of the Russian armed forces experienced health problems with symptoms of poisoning. It is said, so far there has been no reaction from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. So because of Ukraine using chemical weapons against the Russian soldiers, that's why Putin said he's going to talk to the Ukrainians in the U.S. And if they can't come to no agreement within 72, they can't come to no agreement, after 72 hours, he gonna tell them, hey, this is the area I'm gonna hit, and you need to be out within 72 hours. And if you're not out within 72 hours, so let it be. That's what Russia's basically saying. Also, let me give you another one. This came out of NPR. Okay? China reacts to the U.S. shooting down a suspicious spy balloon. That was last week. This article came out February the 5th, 2023. China reacts to the shooting down of a suspicious spy balloon. This came out of NPR. Listen to this. China expressed anger after the U.S. shoot down a huge balloon China claimed was a civilian airship. The incident has further strained relationships. The balloon may be popped, but the saga continued. Yesterday afternoon, a United States Air Force F-22 fighter jet took aim and fired a missile that successfully brought down what U.S. officials say was a Chinese spy balloon. Okay? I'm just going to tell you what happened is China, I'm not going to read the whole article, but what happened is China said because the United States just knocked down that spy balloon that was over in South Carolina, then they turned around and knocked down one in Australia just the other day, it's giving China an opportunity to respond back to the United States. China's saying that now, I'm going to respond back to you, to the United States, because of what you did to my balloons. You giving me a provocation to respond back to you. So now, not just Russia saying that they're going to do something, but now China is saying that they have that right to do something to the U.S. China is going to do something to the U.S. because of what the United States did to them with those spy balloons. Russia going to do something to the U.S. because of them putting chemical wars against the Russian soldiers. And it was been just a conventional war. Let me read y'all something. Okay. The United States used poison gas against Germany in 1918. And the gas and it was in World War I. The United States used poison gas against Germany in World War I, which is 1918. The United States used an atomic bomb against Japan in 1945. And it killed over 210,000 people. The atomic bomb that dropped in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, it killed over 210 people. The United States also turned around in November the 1st, 1955 in the Vietnam War. They used Agent Orange against the Vietnam. And what are the symptoms of Agent Orange? Vomiting and cramping, diarrhea, difficult breathing, chest tightening. That sounds like something, don't it? Then it says the central nervous system, watery eyes, blurry vision, sweating, headaches, dizziness, loss of consciousness, and death. But also, what is the long term? What are the long term effects of Agent Orange? Where is it at? I have it somewhere. It's cancer. Okay, yeah. What's the long term? Hold on, where did I write that? Oh yeah, the long term effects is cancer, birth defects, reproductive harms, autoimmune deficiency, neurological systems, developmental toxicity. When they used that herbicide on the Vietnam people, and some of our own people was affected by that, it's damaged those people's all over the place. Even when you go back and look at Operation Popcorn, we got to understand that the U.S. have really done some horrific stuff to people by using chemical war. I'm going to put those down in my description box on my YouTube. But it reads again in verse 20 and 27 in Jeremiah chapter 50. It says, slay all her bullocks. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. The reason why Russia and China is mad, because what we undone. Let us go to Psalms 37 and 10. (37 and 13), I'm sorry. Right now, we don't even understand what the thought process of the Most High is. It says, I'm going to go to verse 12. It says, the wicked plot against the just, and gnash upon him with his teeth. Yahuwah shall laugh at him, the wicked, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked has drew out the sword, and have bent their bows to cast the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversations. That sword shall enter into their own hearts, and their bow shall be broken. A little that a righteous man is better than the riches of many wicked. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 7. Verses 5 through 7. See, we got to understand and really look at the history of the U.S. and look at it from a spiritual sense and ask the Most High to help us in this moment. We really do. Some of the things that the U.S. do is good. But majority of it, it's not. 210,000 people killed in that atomic bomb in Japan. Over 2 million people died in World War I and II. 1 million people died in Iraq. We don't know how many died in Afghanistan. And in that process, we use chemical wars throughout all those situations. Ezekiel 7, 5 through 7. It says, "Thus saith Yahuwah, an evil and only evil beholds is come. An end is come. The end is come. is watches for thee. Behold, it is come. The morning is come unto thee. O thou that dwellest in the land, the time is come, the day of trouble is near, and not the sounding again of the mountains. Now will I surely pour out my fury upon you, on thee, and accomplish my anger upon thee, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense thee for all thy abominations. And my eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. I will recompense thee according to thy ways, and thy abominations that are in the midst of thee. And ye shall know that I am Yahuwah that smitteth. Let's go to Revelation chapter 16. (17 through 19). And it reads, And the seventh angel poured out his vials into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven, from the throne, saying, It is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightning, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake, and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the city of nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before El, to give unto her the cup of wine of the fierce of his wrath. Do you remember when we were talking the other day, Sharon? And we heard about the earthquake that hit Turkey. What did they say? Say it loud.
I think it was the deadliest.
Since when? 19. My wife and I was listening to something yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. And they said Turkey went through the worst earthquake that they ever went through since 1919. And what happened after 1919? What was going on during 1919? World War I. That earthquake that hit Turkey the other day, they said 15 and 20,000 people died, passed away. They said that was the worst since 1919. But what was going on during 1919 is World War I. What we actually in now is in World War III, but it's unofficially said. Let's go back to Jeremiah. I'm about done. Jeremiah chapter 50. Verses 28. And it reads, The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahuwah our El, the vengeance of his temple. Call together the archers against Babylon. All ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none of thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work. Recompense her according to her work. According to all that she has done, do unto her. For she has been proud against Yahuwah. That's America's ideal. Against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets. All her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Yahuwah. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith Yahuwah El of hosts, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. The most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall rise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and shall devour all the roundabouts. Thus says Yahuwah Yahuwah of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah was oppressed together here in America, U.S., and all that took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go. When the people were trying to get out of slavery, they would go capture them and put them back. Their Redeemer is strong. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. All that you see going on in the world today, the North Country coming in to attack Babylon, all of it is for peace. Because U.S., Babylon broken the contracts. The betrayal of the contracts. Betrayal of the contracts. The betrayal of the contracts. Okay. In Los Angeles Times, the title, Los Angeles Times, op-ed, Russia got a point. The U.S. broke a NATO promise. Okay, it came out May 30th, 2016. Moscow solidified its hold on Crimea in April, outlawing the Tatar legislatures that had opposed Russia annexation of the region since 2014. Together with Russian military provocation against NATO forces in and around the Baltics, this move seemed to be validated the observation of the West analysts who argue that under Vladimir Putin, an increasingly aggressive Russia is determined to dominate its neighbors and menace Europe. Leaders in Moscow, however, tell a different story. For them, Russia is the aggressive party. They claim the U.S. has failed to uphold a promise that NATO would not expand into the Eastern Europe. A deal made during the 1990 negotiation between the West and the Soviet Union over Germany's unification. In this view, Russia is being forced to forestall NATO's eastward march as a matter of self-defense. See, if the United States would have never went in and took over Ukraine in 2014 and kept to the promise that they had with Russia not to move further into Ukraine, this would have never been. But the United States decided to break the promise that they made to Russia. So what did they do? In 2014, they went into Ukraine and took over. They put in a puppet government so that they can do whatever they wanted to do in Ukraine. But how can you let your enemies be right next door to you? So Russia had to do what they had to do in order to get NATO out of its back door. But all this was a design and setup. All this was a design and setup for the fall of Babylon. Because it says in verse 3, in chapter 15 in Jeremiah, it says, "For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein, and they shall remove, and they shall depart, both man and beast." See, the Most High used Russia. He's going to use Russia and China to make him do what he want to do. Because U.S. broke their promise. said we're not going to move eastward no more, but they decided to do it anyway. But let us go to Isaiah chapter 14. This kind of hardening a little bit. This is really hardening because I know some other information that I know is going to get really rough. Isaiah 14, 3 through 7. It shall come to pass in the day that Yahuwah shall give thee rest from thy sorrows and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Yahuwah has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the ruler. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nation in anger is persecuted, and none hinders. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Anytime anybody go against the United States, either they'll go to war with them or they'll put sanctions on them. Second Thessalonians 1 chapter 1 verse 6 and 7. I'm about finished in 2 minutes. Seeing it is a righteous thing with El to recompense tribulations to them that trouble you. Listen to that. Seeing it is a righteous thing with El to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. And to you who are troubled, rest with us. When Yahuwah Yahshua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels, in flaming fire talking vengeance on them that know not El, and that obey not the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, or Yahuwah Yahshua the HaMashiach, who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of Yahuwah and from the glory of his power. Revelations 19, 1 through 3. After these things I have heard a great voice of much people in heaven saying, Alleluia! Salvation and glory and honor and power unto Yahuwah our El, for true and righteous are his judgment, for he has judged the great whore which did corrupt the earth with her fornications, and have avenged the bloods of his servants at her hands. And again they said, Alleluia! Her smoke rose up forever and ever. What am I saying? I got 1 minute. Everything you see is because we're in World War III. Why we're in World War III? Betrayal of the covenant. So because it was a betrayal of the covenant, the Most High had to send some people from the north to attack Babylon so that he can bring peace. We may look at it something totally different. But all this, every time whatever you see on the earth is always for peace. It's always for peace. So, I'm going to advise you, make sure you have a first aid kit. Make sure you have a personal hygiene kit. Make sure you have lights, lighters, candles. Make sure you have some beans and rice. Make sure you have some cash or some silver or some gold at home. Make sure you have something to waterproof, water filter food. Make sure you have medical supplies if need be. Make sure you have something to protect you if it gets worse. Make sure that you have something. If you had to leave your home, you got a tarp, a tent, some rope, something to shelter under. Make sure you have some food or something to be able to help you endure this, like wet weather gear. Put it in a bag. Get a plan together. Because we are in World War III. It's just a matter of how long or when it's going to actually hit our homeland. That's something you need to think about. So let me pray so we can go. Abba, as we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you. Abba, we give you all the honor and the glory. Abba, we thank you for everything you have done and what you continue to do. Abba, we just ask that your will continue to be done. Abba, we just ask that you protect your people. You let them continue to hear the way you want them to hear, see the way you want them to see, and speak the way you want them to speak. Abba, we ask that they prepare for what's to come. We ask them to not just physically prepare, but spiritually.